So those following along at home, because you're absent today, here's our first problem. This is a review for the test. The kids are putting in on their list 1, they're putting in 4, 5, 6, 10, and 12. And then they'll find the mean, the median. The mean is the average. The median, the range. And then this thing is called the 5-number summary. And it's also called making a box plot. All right, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes. If you're having any trouble, please just come on up. Maybe your calculator battery died. Maybe you're in a weird screen and you don't know how to get out of it. Just ask.
Median is 6.
Can anybody verify that the median is 6? All right. And look, it's right in the middle. Okay, range. Hint, biggest minus smallest. It's not on that one var stats. Biggest minus smallest. You want to give me an answer now? 8 is correct. And then the average, which is that X bar thing. The average was 6 also?
Oh, 7.4.
Okay, that seems more logical. It wouldn't come out to a nice round number. Okay, good. Now, one of those goes down into my 5-number summary. Eddie, which of those 3 is in the 5-number summary?
Average.
The average is not.
Or median.
Median. I get them confused all the time myself. This one's 6. All right, and then the little one is 4 and the big one is 12. Those are all easy. But the Q1 and the Q3 that go here are ones you really ought to get off the calculator. Let's see who's the lucky person. Row 1, last person. Hatis. Do you know what Q1 and Q3 are? 4.5 and? You got Q3? 11. Okay, I just couldn't hear you. All right, good. Raise your hand if you have it. All of those right. Sweet. Is there any of that you don't get? Because that's like the easy part of the test. Yes?
Does it matter if you put the 4.5 or 11 on like the top or the bottom?
It does not. I would accept them on the top or the bottom. I usually just put like the names for them on top, like min, Q1, Q3, median, but you don't have to. All that actually has to be there is the numbers. You don't have to have those words at all. All right. Now, let's move to more complicated. And let's actually keep your life simple. We'll leave the L1s the exact same so that you don't have to change that. But now, go in and add an L2 list. And we'll make something that has a correlation. You know that R value thing? We'll make something that has a correlation, but not perfect correlation. All right? I'm going to make it double and add 1. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. Double and add 1. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11. Double and add 1. 12. This one is 13. Double and add 1. 20 plus 1 is 21. And the last one, I'm just going to throw it off a little bit. Otherwise, my R value would have been what? 1.0. So I'm going to mess it up a little bit on purpose. So this time I'm going to go double it and then don't add 1. So 12 times 2 is 24, and I don't add 1. Okay. Put those in for your L2 values. Then would you please figure out what the R value is and what that equation would be? Something X plus something. And it would have been 2X plus 1, but I tweaked it just at the end. So it'll be off a little bit. All right, enter these numbers in your L1 and your L2. I'm going to come around and ask to see that list in just a moment. Show me that your L1 and your L2 are in there properly. I just realized I didn't record that, so I was asking a follow-up question using this equation we got off the calculator. And our R value was like 0.99, tells us it's very strong correlation. Then what if I give you a new value like L1 is 7? Well, that's like saying X is 7. Who was putting it in the X? Raise your hand if you were putting it in the X. You're doing it right. So then this goes here. And then you'd say 1.9 times the x, which is 7, plus 1.52. Eddie, did you do this already?
No.
Do it right now, and I'll have you check the other person's answer. Alexis, have you got this typed in yet?
Yes.
What did you get?
14.82.
All right, and I'm just going to look on the chart and see if that seems logical. If I had a 7, I'd have it right there on the chart. Do you get how 14 point something seems kind of like reasonable looking at the other numbers around it? Okay, so you can know if you're way off by just kind of thinking. Final answer, if we go to the 10th place, 14.8. Can you verify, Eddie? Is that what you got when you multiplied it up? 0.82. Okay, good. All right, yay. So what else is there on the test? There's a whole different thing about this. So let's do shoe size again. Let's say that the average shoe size in here is a 10. You should know where to put that. Next, let's say the standard deviation is 2. 10 av standard deviation is 2. Now I could say, what percent of kids are above 12? If 10's the average, what percent of kids will be above a 12? And the way I think I could say that is 12 or above. All right, so first off, if you're kind of lost, the 10 started here. And then the standard deviation goes 2 at a time. You go 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 plus 2 is 14. And then this is subtracting 2, 8 and 6. Now, you won't have to memorize this. We're going to give it to you. But how many of you already knew that 34% was going to be part of this chart? Okay, good. And this is 34%. And then I can keep going, but I said 12 or bigger, so that actually wants to add up these three, which are 13.5. You can get that off a chart. 2.35, I think. Does that sound right? I think so. And then the last one is 0.15. And I've just memorized that these three together add up to 16%. It kind of helps me. Because 16 plus 34 makes 50, right? So doesn't that make sense? So those three together make 16. So if you want to save yourself a bunch of time, 16% was the answer to our question. What if instead I'd have said, what percentage of kids have 8 or bigger? Don't I just have to add this to it? So 34 plus 16, so that's 68 plus 16, 78, 9, 84% of people. All right. Anything else that you have to know for this test? Yes, there is. Can anybody name a type of problem that we've done in the last couple days that I have not reviewed yet? I'm going to pause for a minute and make you think. If I give you this, you should be able to tell me quite a few things, and we haven't covered all of them. One of them would be, if this was the weight of the children, what was the smallest child that we had? A 3-pound, must have been a little premature baby. And then the biggest child we had was a 12-pounder. Okay. And was this the average? No, it's not the average. What's that? You guys remember? Median. Okay. What is the numbers if I say the top 25% of the kids? Like when you were a baby, your mom brought you in to the doctor, and the doctor probably said, oh, he's in the top 85th percentile for head size. That's a thing. Like people like know whether your kid is basically bigger than average or smaller than average or what. And some of you guys that are very big now, you probably were bigger than average as a baby too. And so they could tell you what percent you were in. The top 25%, that was right there, 9 to 12. That make sense to you? Okay. And the middle 50%. Middle 50%. Parker, what do you say? Between 5 and 9 is 50%. You are correct. The top 75%. The top 75%. Trekkie. Yep. Between the 5 and the 12 is the top 75%. And last question I don't think I've talked about is interquartile range. Isn't the range 12 minus 3? Yeah, that's the range, but that's not the interquartile range. Eddie, I bet you got this.
4.
Yep. How'd you get it?
9 minus 5.
9 minus 5 is 4, and that's something called interquartile range. Okay. I am not promising that I've covered absolutely everything, but I've covered close to everything that you'd have to know. When's the test? Tomorrow. And what should you do? I'd practice. Now, we gave you some stuff to practice in the folder for today. If you're ever going to do an assignment, tonight's the night. Let me give you this pitch. I know some of you are going to be like, yeah, I think I got this, I'm fine. And you might come tomorrow and get like a C. If you spend an extra 15 minutes, you might save yourself 2.5 hours. That's how long the typical retake takes. You know why? Because if you're going to come in and do corrections, that's one morning you have to get up early. And then you come in and you have to do the corrections. Then you go home and have to study again for another test. And then you have to actually take that test. It's about 2.5 hours to do a retake. So I encourage you to spend a little more time than you would think studying tonight. And then you can just rock the test tomorrow. And that's all I have for you for today.